In the heart of a dense, unbroken forest, there was a hill not large enough to be a mountain, not small enough to be ignored. The villagers called it the Dug Hill. No one could say where the name came from, but stories clung to it like moss to stone. Stories of death, misfortune, and whispers in the dark. For generations, the locals had warned outsiders, do not dig there. Those who ignored the warnings paid with their lives. A hunter once stumbled while climbing its slope and broke his neck on the rocks below. A woodcutter drowned in the nearby creek on a day so still, the water looked like glass. An entire surveying team vanished overnight, their campsite left untouched, as if they had simply walked into the forest and never returned. No bodies, no answers. Yet the Dug Hill tempted men, especially those who sought what lay beneath. The soil hid fragments, shards of pottery with strange markings, obsidian knives that still seemed sharp despite their age, tiny figurines carved from bone. But real treasure? That was something no one had ever brought back, alive. Until Dr. Aaron Clay arrived. Clay was not like the reckless adventurers before him. He was an archaeologist, a scholar with a reputation for uncovering truths buried for millennia. He came with permits, equipment, and a small hand-picked team. He had read every account of the Dug Hill, the myths, the warnings, the deaths, and he had ignored them all. On the third day of digging, under a sky heavy with low-gray clouds, they found it, a stone altar, perfectly preserved beneath layers of packed earth. Its surface was stained with something dark, something that the rain could never wash away. Around it were carved symbols, looping, spiraling shapes that seemed to twist if you stared too long. Clay's hands trembled as he brushed away the dirt. "This isn't a burial site," he whispered. "It's a place of offering." That night by the fire, he told the others his theory, that in the 3rd to 6th century BC, this hill had been a sacred ground for a forgotten cult of forest priests. They had performed rituals here, blood rituals, to summon and bind a guardian spirit, a spirit that fed on life itself. The locals had been right, he admitted. It was a place of power, but to Clay that made it irresistible. The next morning, while the rest of the team cataloged pottery shards, Clay returned to the altar alone. He wanted to see it at dawn, when the mist rolled down the hill like smoke. Kneeling beside it, he ran his fingers over the carvings, and something pricked his skin. A jagged piece of stone cut into his palm. His blood smeared across the altar's surface. The wind rose instantly, though the trees around him did not move. The mist thickened until he could barely see the ground. Somewhere, close, but not close enough to touch, a voice murmured in a language he didn't know. He should have run, but he didn't. By the time he rejoined the others, his skin felt wrong, tight in some places, loose in others. That night he couldn't sleep. He dreamed of shapes moving in the tree line, of hands reaching from the soil. When he woke, there was dirt beneath his fingernails. The days that followed blurred. His flesh began to change. First, small patches turned gray and soft, like rot in fruit. Then the smell came, faint at first, then unbearable. His team begged him to leave to see a doctor, but he couldn't leave the hill. Every step away felt like drowning in air, as if invisible chains dragged him back. And then came the spirits. They didn't appear all at once. At first it was glimpses, a shadow bending unnaturally, a figure standing among the trees only to vanish when he looked again. Then they began to speak, in whispers at his tense entrance, in the spaces between his breaths. They told him things he couldn't unhear. They promised release, but only if he finished what was started. On the 7th night he understood. The altar was not just a relic, it was a door, and his blood had opened it. The spirit bound to this place was awake now, and it wanted more. He had two choices, seal it again, or let it take him completely. Under a sky split with lightning, Clay climbed the hill alone. The air was thick and electric. The altar's carvings pulsed faintly, like veins beneath stone. His body was failing, and his legs barely obeyed him, his skin splitting in long, blackened cracks. The voices urged him to kneel, to surrender, to become theirs. But in his trembling hands he carried fire, a torch soaked in oil. He raised it high, ready to burn the altar, the artifacts, the entire dig site. But as the first drop of flaming oil touched the stone, the wind died. The forest fell silent, and in the silence something stepped out from the mist. It was not a man, not a beast. It was both and then neither. Eyes like polished obsidian, skin the color of the altar stone. It moved closer, and with every step the air grew colder. "You cannot destroy what you are part of now," it said, not in sound but in his mind. Clay's hand shook. The torch wavered. The figure reached out, its touch hovering just above his skin. "Seal the gate, or join me." In the final moment, with the flames guttering in the rain, Clay made his choice. No one knows which.